this in current numbers, then separate the argument into water, money, grid infrastructure, and the fatal flaw risks versus the real benefits. The first thing that stands out, this is not just AI uses too much power. The harder problem is where, when, and who pays for the grid and water systems needed. Bottom line, you are right to worry. The weak point is not only AI uses electricity. The real weak point is this: AI data centers, EV charging, heat pumps, factories, housing, solar, batteries, and normal households are all arriving at the grid faster than the grid can be rebuilt. That creates a fight over power capacity, water, land, permits, transformers, cables, and money. But it is also not as simple as AI bad, EVs bad. EVs can become flexible grid assets if charged smartly. Data centers can be efficient and useful. The danger is uncontrolled growth in the wrong places with the public quietly paying the bill. The scale. How big is the AI data center problem? Globally, data centers used around 415 terawatt-hours of electricity in 2024, about 1.5% of global electricity use, and the IEA expects that to more than double to around 945 terawatt-hours by 2030, just under 3% of global electricity use. The United States, China, and Europe are the main regions, with the U.S. alone making up about 45% of global data center electricity use in 2024. That sounds manageable globally, but locally, it can be brutal. The IEA's key warning is that data centers are geographically concentrated. They cluster in a few regions, unlike EVs, which are spread across millions of homes and parking spaces. That means one town, province, or grid zone can get hammered even if the global percentage looks small. For the Netherlands, this is already real. The IEA called the Netherlands a striking example of grid congestion, with around 10,000 large users and 7,500 larger generation projects waiting to connect in early 2025. Reuters reported on June 16, 2026, that Dutch data centers are expected by TenneT to rise from about 5% of national power generation now to 15% by 2030, while transmission projects can take up to 12 years and many still lack permits. So yes, in places like the Netherlands, this is not theory. It is already a cue. Number 2, water, the hidden cost people underestimate. Data centers need cooling. Cooling can use electricity, water, or both. The trade-off is ugly. Use water-based evaporative cooling, lower electricity use but more water consumed. Use air cooling, dry cooling, lower water use but usually higher electricity demand. Use advanced liquid cooling closed-loop systems, better but expensive and not universal. In the U.S., data centers directly consumed about 17.4 billion gallons of water in 2023, roughly equal to the annual water use of 160,000 American households, and projections rise to 38 to 73 billion gallons by 2028. Google's own reported data center water consumption rose from 4.3 billion gallons in 2021 to 6.1 billion gallons in 2024. One large Google site in Council Bluffs, Iowa, reportedly consumed 2.8 million gallons per day on average. The pro side, companies are improving. Microsoft says its newer AI-optimized data center design uses zero water for cooling after the closed-loop system is filled, avoiding more than 125 million liters of water per year per data center, though water is still used for normal building needs. The con side, water-positive claims can be slippery. Replenishing water somewhere else does not always solve the local problem if the data center is pulling from a stressed local watershed. Water is local. A gallon saved in one region does not automatically help a town facing shortages somewhere else. My take, water is not the biggest global number compared with agriculture, but it becomes a serious moral and political problem when data centers are built in dry or stressed regions. The flaw is bad siting. Number 3, money. Who pays for the build-out? This is where the public should be loud. Data centers are private profit machines, but they require public-style infrastructure. Transmission lines, substations, transformers, backup generation, roads, water systems, and sometimes tax incentives. The IEA says global investment in data centers nearly doubled since 2022 and reached about $500 billion in 2024. Goldman Sachs Research expects the biggest tech companies leading the AI build-out to spend around $5.3 trillion from 2025 through 2030 on capital expenditure tied to technology and data centers. The grid side is also massive. Goldman Sachs estimates around $720 billion of grid spending may be needed through 2030 to support data center-driven power growth. The danger: if rules are weak, ordinary electricity users can end up subsidizing infrastructure for giant companies. Higher grid fees, congestion costs, and generation upgrades can flow into everyone's bills. Fair rule: if a hyperscale data center causes a new substation, new transmission line, or local water upgrade, the company should pay a large share directly. Not taxpayers, not households, not small businesses. Number 4. Grid infrastructure, the real fatal flaw. The grid is not like a phone app. You cannot scale it overnight. The IEA says a data center can be built in 2 to 3 years, while energy infrastructure needs longer planning, permitting, construction, and high upfront investment. It also says transmission lines in advanced economies can take 4 to 8 years, and wait times for transformers and cables have doubled in recent years. In the Netherlands, Reuters reported that Tenet says transmission projects can take up to 12 years, and more than half of the transmission projects needed by 2030 still await permits. RVO also says that from July 1, 2026, small-scale users without priority can be placed on waiting lists during grid congestion, while priority remains for things like housing and schools. That means the fatal flaw is timing. AI company timeline: we want power in 2 years. Grid reality: we need 4 to 12 years. Public result: queues, moratoriums, higher prices, delayed housing, delayed chargers, delayed businesses. That is the core problem. Number 5, EV cars, bikes versus AI data centers. You said EV cars and bikes are already draining the grid. You are partly right, but the details matter. EVs increase electricity demand. Yes. IEA says electric car sales exceeded 20 million in 2025, about 1/4 of global new car sales. By 2035, EV electricity demand could exceed 1,500 terawatt-hours, around 6 times 2025 levels, but still only about 4% of global electricity demand. In Europe, EVs could add more than 10% to total electricity demand by 2035. But EVs have one huge advantage over data centers: they are flexible. Most cars sit parked for many hours. With smart charging, they can charge at night, during solar peaks, or when wind is strong. With vehicle-to-grid, some can even feed power back. IEA says smart charging in V2G can reduce peak demand and provide flexibility, though V2G is still early and standards remain fragmented. Data centers are different. They want 24/7 high-reliability power. They are closer to a factory than a household load. Some AI workloads can be shifted in time or location, but many facilities still require huge firm connections. So the comparison is: EVs, more total demand, but potentially flexible. AI data centers, smaller global share than EVs, but concentrated and less flexible locally. Worst case, unmanaged EV charging plus hyperscale AI data centers plus slow grid expansion, but congestion disaster. Pros of AI data centers. Pro 1. AI can create real productivity gains. AI can help with coding, logistics, medical research, energy forecasting, grid management, language translation, security, robotics, and automation. This is not fake value. Used well, AI can save labor, speed up research, and improve systems. Pro 2. Hyperscale can be more efficient than old scattered servers. Large modern data centers can have better cooling, power management, and utilization than thousands of inefficient small server rooms. Lawrence Berkeley Lab found average U.S. data center PUE improved from around 1.6 in 2014 to 1.4 in 2023, with further improvement expected as hyperscale and liquid-cooled systems grow. Pro 3. It can accelerate clean energy investment. Big tech has money and wants reliable power. That can pull forward renewables, batteries, geothermal, nuclear, and grid upgrades. IEA expects renewables, natural gas, nuclear, storage, and grids all to play roles in meeting data center growth. Pro 4. Local tax revenue and construction jobs. A big data center can bring construction work, land value, and tax revenue. For some towns, that matters. But this benefit is often oversold because permanent staffing is usually small compared with factories. 7. Cons of AI data centers. Con 1. Huge power demand in concentrated areas. This is the big one. A single hyperscale data center can behave like a giant industrial load. If several cluster in one area, they can crowd out housing, factories, EV chargers, and small businesses. Con 2. Water stress. Water-based cooling can be efficient for electricity, but bad for local water resources. The problem is not only the total water number, it is whether the facility is built in a stressed watershed. Con 3. Cost shifting to the public. If utilities build grid upgrades for data centers and spread the cost across all users, households and small businesses pay for big tech's growth. That is politically toxic and economically unfair. Con 4. Fossil backup and emissions. When clean power and grid capacity are not ready, companies may lean on gas plants, diesel backup, or clean energy accounting that looks better on paper than in real time. UNED warns data centers use large amounts of electricity, water, critical minerals, and create e-waste. Con 5. E-waste and hardware churn. AI chips become outdated fast. A 2026 Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam report estimated AI servers could generate 131 to 224.8 kilotons of e-waste per year by 2030, comparable to the annual e-waste of countries like Denmark, Norway, or Austria. Con 6. Low transparency. Many companies do not disclose enough site-level data on electricity source, water withdrawals, water consumption, backup fuel use, or real-time emissions. Without transparency, communities cannot judge the real cost. 8. The fatal flaws if growth is unmanaged. Here is the clean point-by-point version. 1. Grid buildout is too slow. AI demand arrives in 2-3 years. Grids can take 4 to 12 years. That mismatch creates bottlenecks. 2. The load is too concentrated. Global percentages hide local pain. One province or city can be overwhelmed. 3. Water choices are location sensitive. Cooling that works in Finland may be irresponsible in Arizona or a drought-prone region. 4. The public may pay private costs. If big tech does not pay for caused upgrades, normal users get the bill. 5. EVs and AI compete for the same capacity. EVs, heat pumps, housing industry, and data centers all need connection capacity. Without priority rules, money wins instead of public need. 6. Permitting and components are bottlenecks. Cables, transformers, substations, permits, and land are now strategic resources. 7. Green energy claims can be misleading. Buying renewable credits does not always mean the data center is powered by clean electricity every hour. 8. AI demand may be overbuilt. If companies build for hype and revenue does not match, society may be left with stranded infrastructure and higher system costs. 9. Local democracy gets bypassed. Communities are often told the project is innovation, but not given clear water, noise, power, and bill impact data. 10. Security and resilience risks grow. More critical digital infrastructure means more dependence on a few physical sites, energy systems, and supply chains. Number 9. The strongest argument against uncontrolled AI infrastructure. The best argument is not AI is useless. That is too easy to dismiss. The stronger argument is AI data centers should not receive scarce grid and water capacity unless they prove they are paying their full infrastructure cost, using low water cooling where needed, adding new clean firm power, and not delaying housing, schools, hospitals, EV charging, or small businesses. That is the serious position, not anti-technology, anti-free ride. Number 10. The strongest argument in favor of building them. The strongest pro-AI infrastructure argument is AI is becoming critical infrastructure, and countries that fail to build compute capacity may become dependent on foreign platforms, foreign cloud providers, and foreign models. That matters. Europe already worries about digital dependence. The answer is not build nothing. The answer is build smarter, slower where necessary, and only where the grid and water system can handle it. Hack 11. What good policy should look like? A sane system would require 1. Full cost pays. Data centers pay for the grid upgrades they trigger. 2. Water permits by watershed. No generic approvals. Site-by-site water stress checks. 3. Priority rules. Housing, hospitals, schools, essential industry, and public EV charging should beat speculative hyperscale loads. 4. Real-time energy reporting, not just annual green claims. Show hourly power source and emissions. Mandatory heat reuse where practical, especially in colder countries like the Netherlands. Waste heat should support district heating if technically and economically realistic. 6. Flexible compute. Non-urgent AI training should shift to times, places with surplus clean electricity. 7. No blind tax breaks. Communities should see the deal. Jobs, water, electricity, taxes, noise, backup generators, and bill impacts. 8. EV smart charging by default. EVs should not all charge at 18 after work. Smart tariffs and charger controls matter. My final take. AI data centers are not automatically evil, but the current buildout has a serious structural flaw. Private companies are scaling faster than public infrastructure can safely absorb. EVs are part of the same pressure, but EVs can become flexible grid assets. AI data centers are more like giant always-on factories. If governments let them connect first, just because they have money, then normal people will feel it through higher bills, waiting lists, water fights, and delayed electrification. So the winning position is build AI infrastructure, but only with hard rules. Pay your own grid costs, prove your water plan, disclose real energy use, reuse heat where possible, and do not jump the queue ahead of public needs. The grid is only one layer. A big data center build also hits civil infrastructure, water intake, wastewater treatment, storm drains, roads, emergency access, and even bridge transformer logistics. I'll widen the analysis instead of treating it like an electricity-only issue. Yes, this is the bigger and scarier point. The power grid gets the headlines, but a data center boom stresses the whole under-the-street system. Drinking water pipes, sewer lines, wastewater treatment, storm drains, roads, bridges, land, emergency services, and maintenance budgets. The fatal flaw is that governments often approve these projects like they are just buildings, when they are really mini industrial cities with huge utility connections. Number 1. Water pipes. Not just is there enough water? A data center does not only need water volume. It needs reliable peak water capacity, especially during hot days when cooling demand rises. That is the exact moment when households, farms, industry, and nature may also need more water. A 2026 research paper argues that U.S. data centers could require 697 to 1,451 million gallons per day of new water capacity through 2030 if 2024 water use intensity continues, with impacts concentrated in host communities. The paper also warns that when water is limited, data centers may switch to dry cooling, which saves water but increases electricity demand during summer peaks. For the Netherlands, this is not some faraway American issue. The Dutch Court of Audit said drinking water demand is rising because of economic activity, population growth, and climate change, while supply can no longer be taken for granted. It also noted that since 2022, dozens of companies have had applications for water connections rejected. The flaw: old water systems were sized for towns, homes, shops, and normal industry, not clusters of AI facilities asking for heavy, always available industrial water service. Number 2. Sewers and wastewater treatment, the ignored bottleneck. People hear data center and think computers, but cooling systems can create wastewater. Cooling tower blowdown can contain minerals, salts, anti-corrosion chemicals, biocides, chlorine compounds, glycols, and possibly other treatment chemicals. Improper disposal or undertreated discharge can affect surface water or groundwater. That means the local sewer and wastewater treatment plant may need to handle 1. Extra flow volume, 2. Hotter water, 3. Higher mineral salt concentration, 4. Chemical treatment residues, 5. Stricter permits and monitoring. Data centers are not like a normal office block with toilets and sinks. Their wastewater issue is more industrial. The University of Michigan Urban Planning Report notes that data centers draw from municipal systems or groundwater, and that wastewater from cooling systems is routed to local treatment plants. The flaw: towns may ask, can we give them electricity? But not ask strongly enough, can our wastewater plant absorb the flow, chemistry, and peak discharge for 20 years? Our 3. Storm drains. Giant roofs and concrete make flooding worse. Data centers are physically huge. Big roof, big parking service areas, big security perimeter, big access roads. That means more impervious surface, land where rain cannot soak into the ground. Stormwater systems are already weak in many places. In the U.S., ASE's 2025 Stormwater Report Card says stormwater runoff travels over impervious surfaces into drains and waterways, and that impervious surfaces are expanding, increasing runoff impacts and urban flooding risk. The Netherlands already knows this is a major climate adaptation problem. The Dutch Delta Plan on spatial adaptation is explicitly aimed at waterlogging, heat stress, drought, and urban flooding, with the goal that the Netherlands becomes water resilient and climate proof by 2050. The flaw: a data center may pass a normal drainage calculation, but the town as a whole may already be near the limit. One more massive hard surface site can push local drainage from barely works to streets flood. 4. Recycled water sounds good, but it is not magic. Using recycled wastewater for cooling is one of the better options. It avoids using drinking quality water for cooling. WRI lists reclaimed wastewater use as a governance tool for reducing data center water impacts. But recycled water needs its own infrastructure. Separate purple pipe non-potable water networks, treatment upgrades, pumps, storage tanks, monitoring, backup supply, contracts between the data center, city, and water utility. So when a company says we will use recycled water, the next question should be, who pays to build the recycled water system? If the company pays, good. If the public pays, then it may just be another subsidy. The flaw: water recycling can become a nice PR phrase unless the pipes, treatment capacity, and financing are real. Nasher 5 roads, low permanent traffic, huge construction traffic slum. Once a data center is running, it usually does not employ many people compared with a factory or shopping center. So normal traffic studies can make it look harmless. But the construction phase is different. Data centers create big temporary surges in construction workers, heavy equipment deliveries, concrete trucks, steel, generators, transformers, cooling equipment, fuel deliveries, and oversized loads. Kittleson notes that the biggest transportation impact of a data center is often during construction, not operation, and that standard traffic impact assessments may miss those construction spikes in roadway wear. That matters because local roads are often maintained by municipalities with limited budgets. Heavy truck traffic can damage roads, curbs, shoulders, drainage edges, bridges, and roundabouts. The flaw: the developer gets the building. The town may get years of road damage, congestion, noise, and repair bills. 6. Backup generators, diesel, noise, and emergency access. Data centers need extreme reliability. That often means backup generators, fuel storage, fire systems, and emergency vehicle access. The University of Michigan report notes that transmission corridors, substations, backup generators, diesel fuel deliveries during emergencies, noise, visual impacts, local air pollution, and truck traffic can all affect community life. This is another reason that it is just a warehouse full of servers argument is weak. It is not just a warehouse. It is a power and cooling machine with industrial backup systems. The flaw: local emergency services, roads, and environmental permits can be treated like side issues, even though they are central to the risk. The Netherlands problem: everything is already competing for space. In the Netherlands, the pressure is worse because land is scarce, water management is complex, and grid congestion is already severe. Reuters reported that Dutch grid connection moratoriums have existed for non-residential loads in generations since 2022, and that Utrecht is extending this to new residential connections. It also reported that Dutch data center power use could rise from about 5% of national power generation now to 15% by 2030, according to Tenet. So the conflict is not just AI versus electricity. It becomes AI data centers versus housing connections, AI data centers versus drinking water capacity, AI data centers versus sewer upgrades, AI data centers versus road budgets, AI data centers versus flood adaptation, AI data centers versus farmland nature space. That's why people get angry. They are not always anti-tech. They see that the basic systems are already overloaded. 8. The real fatal flaw: infrastructure is approved in separate boxes, and thus this is the biggest issue. A data center may get a building permit from one department, a grid connection from another, a water connection from another, a sewer wastewater review from another, a road traffic review from another, an environmental permit from another. The community experiences it as one combined burden. The fatal flaw is fragmented approval. Each department may say this part is acceptable, while the total system becomes unacceptable. That is how you get a project that is technically legal but socially stupid. Number 9. Pros of allowing data centers despite this. There are real pros. 1. Digital sovereignty. Europe needs some domestic compute capacity instead of relying completely on foreign cloud infrastructure. 2. Economic activity. Construction work, tax base, and some long-term technical jobs. 3. Potential infrastructure upgrades. If forced to pay properly, data centers can fund new substations, water reuse systems, road upgrades, and heat reuse projects. 4. Heat reuse. In colder countries, waste heat can sometimes feed district heating, although this is often harder in practice than in brochures. 5. Cleaner industry, if well sited. A data center built on a brownfield site with renewable power, low water cooling, and paid for infrastructure is far better than one dumped into a stressed town. 10. Cons when done badly. The cons are heavy. 1. They consume scarce utility capacity before homes and small businesses. 2. They can push old water and sewer systems past their design limits. 3. They can increase flooding by adding huge hard surfaces. 4. They can damage roads during construction. 5. They can shift costs onto normal ratepayers and taxpayers. So they create relatively few permanent jobs for the amount of infrastructure they demand. 7. They often hide key data behind confidentiality claims. 8. They can lock towns into decades of industrial utility demand. My honest view, data centers should not be approved unless they pass a full infrastructure stress test, not just a power grid check. What a proper approval test should require. A serious government should demand this before approval. 1. Full water capacity report. Average use, peak summer use, drought plan, source of water, and who loses priority during shortage. 2. Wastewater impact report. Volume, temperature, chemistry, treatment capacity, and sewer upgrade costs. 3. Stormwater plan. On-site retention, green roofs where possible, permeable surfaces, ponds, drainage upgrades, and flood modeling. 4. Road damage agreement. Developer pays for haul routes, road reinforcement, repairs, traffic control, and bridge roundabout modifications. 5. No hidden subsidies. The company pays the direct infrastructure upgrades it causes. 6. Public disclosure. No secret NDAs hiding water use, electricity demand, or infrastructure costs. 7. Priority ranking. Housing, hospitals, schools, public transport, small businesses, and basic utilities should come before speculative AI capacity. 8. Recycled water requirement where feasible. Do not use drinking water for cooling if reclaimed water can be used. 9. Emergency services review. Fire, fuel, backup generators, hazardous materials, and access roads. 10. Exit plan. If the project fails or becomes obsolete, who pays for stranded infrastructure? Final point. You are dead right to expand this beyond wires. The real problem is not one data center. It is the pileup of new demands on old systems: AI, EVs, heat pumps, housing, climate adaptation, flooding, drinking water shortages, road maintenance, and sewer upgrades all at once. So the hard rule should be, no data center should get approved unless it proves the whole local infrastructure system can handle it: power, water, sewer, storm drains, roads, emergency services, and public cost. Otherwise, it is not innovation. It is dumping private growth onto public infrastructure. Noise is one of the most underestimated data center impacts because it does not look dramatic on paper, but it can ruin daily life if the site is close to homes. I'll break it down by source, why it travels, and what rules should be required. Yes, the sound problem is another hidden cost of data centers, and it is especially nasty because it is often constant, low frequency, and active at night. A road is loud but changes. A data center can create a 24/7 mechanical hum. Number 1, where the noise comes from. Main sources. 1. Cooling fans. Big fans move huge amounts of air to remove heat from servers. 2. Chillers, air conditioning units. These can create a deep mechanical hum, especially if mounted outside or on rooftops. 3. Cooling towers. Air and water movement can create steady broadband noise. 4. Transformers and electrical gear. These can make a tonal electrical hum. 5. Backup diesel generators. These may not run all the time, but during testing or outages, they can be very loud. WRI notes that smaller diesel generators can reach around 85 dB, while larger industrial units can approach 100 dB, similar to a motorcycle or jackhammer. 6. Construction noise. Pile driving. Trucks, concrete work, cranes, alarms, and roadworks can last months or years. Number 2. Why data center noise is worse than normal noise. The worst part is not always the loudness. It is the type of sound. A data center can produce a low hum, vibration-like sound, tonal sound, fan whine, rumbling, pulsing noise, nighttime background noise. Low-frequency sound is a pain because it travels farther, passes through walls better, and can be hard to block with normal fences or windows. That is why people may say, "It is not loud, but I feel it," or "I hear it only at night." This is also why normal decibel rules can fail. Many rules use dBA, which weights sound closer to how human ears hear mid-frequency noise, but low-frequency hum can be undercounted by that method. Acoustic specialists have warned that data center rules often miss tonality in low-frequency hum, even when a site technically meets standard noise limits. The health angle. Noise is not just annoying. Long-term environmental noise is linked to sleep disturbance, stress, annoyance, and cardiovascular metabolic effects. The European Environment Agency says at least 1 in 5 people in the EU are exposed to long-term noise levels considered harmful to health, with effects including annoyance, sleep disturbance, cardiovascular and metabolic issues, and learning impacts in children. WHO guidance recommends less than 30 dBA inside bedrooms at night for good sleep and less than 40 dBA outside bedrooms at night to prevent adverse health effects from night noise. So when a data center creates a constant nighttime hum near homes, the complaint is not weak or silly. Sleep disruption is a real public health issue. Number 4, the legal but still unbearable problem. This is the key flaw. A data center can pass a local noise permit and still make life miserable because the test measures the wrong frequency range, the test averages noise over time, the test is done at the property boundary, not inside bedrooms, nighttime noise is treated too lightly, tonal hum is not penalized enough, vibration is ignored, multiple nearby data centers are not counted together. This is how you get a project that is compliant but still causes complaints. That is exactly the same pattern as the grid and water problem. The rules are too narrow for the real-world impact. Number 5, why location matters so much. A data center next to an industrial zone is one thing. A data center near houses, schools, care homes, farms, or quiet rural land is completely different. The bad siting pattern is cheap land plus weak zoning plus old infrastructure plus nearby homes with long-term conflict. Once the building is there, fixing the sound is expensive. Retrofitting barriers, silencers, acoustic enclosures, and fan replacements can cost a lot more than designing the site correctly from the start. 6, the road noise connection. You mentioned roads before. That matters too. During construction, data centers can create heavy truck traffic, reversing alarms, night deliveries, road repairs, concrete truck noise, vibration from heavy vehicles, temporary generators, road closures. After construction, the traffic is usually lower, but there may still be service vehicles, fuel deliveries, maintenance crews, security traffic, and emergency generator testing. So the sound issue is not only the building, it is also the logistics around the building. 7, pros. Can the noise be controlled? Yes, technically it can be reduced. Good measures include 1, setbacks from homes, do not build them too close to residential areas. 2, put noisy equipment inside buildings. Outdoor rooftop chillers and exposed fans are asking for trouble. 3, acoustic barriers. Walls can help, but they must be designed for the right frequencies. 4, low noise fans and chillers. Choose quieter equipment from the start. 5, variable speed fans instead of blasting full power all the time. 6, generator enclosures and exhaust silencers. Backup generators should not be allowed to roar into neighborhoods. 7, no nighttime generator testing. Testing should be limited to reasonable daytime hours. 8, independent sound monitoring, not company-paid PR reports only. 9, measure low frequency and tonal noise, not just simple average dBA. 10, cumulative testing. Measure the whole data center cluster, not each building separately. 8, cons, why it often goes wrong. It goes wrong because developers want speed and cheap land. Common mistakes: building too close to homes, using normal industrial noise rules, ignoring low-frequency hum, allowing rooftop mechanical equipment, measuring only daytime noise, not modeling worst-case hot summer operation, ignoring future expansion phases, approving one data center at a time instead of the whole cluster, forcing residents to prove the problem after it is already built. That last one is unfair. Residents should not have to spend years proving a hum exists after a company has already made millions. Number 9, what should be required before approval? For a serious permit, I would require One, full acoustic impact study before construction, including low frequency, tonal, nighttime, and indoor bedroom impact. Two, worst case cooling model, hot summer night, full server load, all cooling equipment running. Three, generator testing limits, daytime only, limited duration with notice to residents. Four, independent monitoring paid by the developer, but controlled by the municipality. Five, noise limits at homes, not just the data center fence. The receiver matters more than the property boundary. Six, low frequency penalty. If there is a hum or tone, the legal limit should become stricter. Seven, cumulative cluster assessment. 10 data centers each within limits can together become unbearable. 8. Mandatory fix clause. If residents experience confirmed noise nuisance after opening, the operator must retrofit at its own cost. Final point. The sound problem proves the bigger argument. Data centers are not just buildings. They are industrial machines. They need electricity, water, sewers, drainage, roads, backup generators, security, and cooling. And all of that creates noise. So the rule should be simple. No data center near homes unless it proves it will be quiet during the worst case night, not just average daytime conditions. If a company cannot prove that, it should not be built there. Why this whole data center issue matters. The reason this matters is simple. Data center issue matters. The reason this matters is simple. AI data centers are being sold as the future, but the basic infrastructure underneath them is often old, overloaded, and not built for this level of demand. It is not just about computers in a building. It is about who gets access to power, water, roads, sewer capacity, land, and public money. 1. Why companies want them. Big tech wants data centers because AI is becoming the new oil field. Whoever controls the compute controls. AI models, cloud services, business tools, search, advertising, automation, surveillance systems, military and security contracts, medical and research platforms, future software markets. So companies are racing. They are not building slowly and carefully. They are building fast because whoever gets ahead first may dominate the market for years. That is the business reason. Number 2, why governments allow it. Governments like data centers because they sound modern. They promise investment, innovation, construction jobs, tax income, digital sovereignty, tech prestige, national competitiveness. No mayor or minister wants to look like they block the future. But the problem is that governments often look at the shiny promise before looking at the hidden bill. Number 3, why the public should care. Because the public infrastructure is not magic. When a massive data center needs a new grid connection, water capacity, sewage treatment, drainage work, road upgrades, or emergency planning, someone pays. And too often, that someone is not fully the company. It becomes higher electricity bills, higher water bills, taxpayer-funded upgrades, road repairs, grid congestion, longer waiting times for homes and small businesses, more pressure on old sewer and drainage systems. So the public should ask, why should normal people wait for grid capacity while billion-dollar companies jump the line? That is the core fairness question. Number 4, why it is different from normal buildings. A normal warehouse mostly needs space, lights, heating, toilets, and roads. A data center needs huge electricity supply, constant cooling, water or extra electricity for cooling, backup generators, fuel deliveries, security, fiber connections, transformers, substations, stormwater handling, wastewater treatment, heavy construction logistics, 24/7 noise control. So calling it a warehouse is misleading. A data center is closer to an industrial utility machine than a normal commercial building. Number 5, why the old infrastructure problem is serious. A lot of towns and regions already have aging infrastructure. Old power cables, old substations, old sewer lines, old drainage systems, old wastewater plants, roads already damaged, bridges not built for endless heavy construction traffic, water systems already under climate pressure. Then suddenly a giant AI facility arrives and says, we need massive electricity, reliable water, cooling, drainage, backup systems, and road access permanently. That is why people push back. Not because they hate technology, because the foundation is already cracking. Number 6, why EVs make this harder. EV cars and bikes are part of the same pressure. Electrification means more demand from EV charging, heat pumps, electric buses, electric trucks, Factories switching from gas to electricity, new housing, solar connections, battery systems, data centers. Each one alone can be managed. All of them together become a grid crisis if the infrastructure is not upgraded fast enough. EVs at least can be flexible if charged smartly. Data centers are harder because they want constant, high-quality power. So the real problem is not EVs versus AI. The real problem is everyone is being pushed onto the electric system before the electric system is ready. Nush number 7. Why noise matters. Noise proves that the problem is not only about numbers. A data center can meet technical rules and still create a horrible low hum for nearby residents. Constant fan noise, chillers, transformers, backup generator testing, truck movement, and vibration can make a place feel unlivable. This is why it passed the permit is not always good enough. The rules may measure average noise, but residents live with the real sound at night. Number 8. Why water matters. Water is local. A company can say, "We are water positive," or "We offset water use." But if the data center is taking water from a stressed local system, the community still feels the pressure. Also, saving water often means using more electricity for dry cooling. Saving electricity can mean using more water for evaporative cooling. So there is no free solution. There are trade-offs. That is why location matters so much. Why money is the biggest hidden issue. The biggest question should always be, who pays? If a data center needs new infrastructure, the company should pay for it. Not households, not small businesses, not schools, not taxpayers, not people waiting for housing connections. If the public pays for private profit, that is not innovation. That is subsidy. Number 10. Why this can become a fatal flaw. The fatal flaw is speed. Tech companies move fast. Infrastructure moves slow. A data center can be planned and built in a few years. But power lines, substations, water treatment upgrades, sewer systems, road upgrades, and permits can take many years. That creates the disaster pattern. 1. Company announces huge project. 2. Politicians praise investment. 3. Infrastructure cannot keep up. 4. Local people face congestion, noise, water stress, road damage, or higher bills. 5. The company keeps the profit. 6. The public absorbs the pressure. That is the real danger. Final conclusion. The issue is not that AI data centers should never exist. The issue is that they should not be allowed to grow faster than the real-world systems supporting them. No data center should be approved unless it proves the grid can handle it, the water system can handle it, the sewer and wastewater system can handle it, storm drains can handle it, roads can handle construction and maintenance traffic, noise will not harm nearby residents, emergency services can handle the risk, and the company pays for the upgrades it causes. The why is this. AI is being treated like a digital revolution, but it still depends on physical infrastructure, wires, pipes, roads, water, land, sewers, and people. If those systems are outdated or overloaded, then the future built on a broken foundation. That is the point. Outcome. Keep it civil. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more updates, news, and discussions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but please keep the conversation respectful and constructive. Thanks for watching.